get excellent at something and then actually perform it in a way that a lot of other people are going to be looking at it. The pressure of that performance is part of the power of the arts. So when I teach kids to do, let's example, a human paragraph, where one kid acts out the main idea, then a supporting detail, and then a supporting detail, and a supporting detail, and then a summary, and they do a real good job on that. Let's just say, I don't know, second graders doing the main ideas. There are 3 kinds of rocks. And then one kid says igneous, and they go through that. And you say, wow, that was so good. Could you guys practice that and go into the other second grade and perform it for them? Now, here's my point. That notion of going and performing changes everything about the energy that goes into the activity, and it changes everything with regard to how much kids learn and how much they remember and how much they can apply. So I really encourage you to try the Zoom form of a performance, since you already practiced it in school before they knew that there wasn't going to be an end of year at your school. Give it a try, because you can still use one or more dimensions of the power of the arts to enhance engagement and boost learning.
Wow. Well, I can tell you just on the back of this conversation, we're definitely going to take that up.
I can't wait to see it.
I'm excited now. You've given me, just as you did when you first came to Cypress Woods, you really gave me a boost. I've told the story many times of your first day at Cypress, and you came down the sidewalk leading out to recess. We had over 100 kids out there.
Oh, that's right. They were on their numbers.
Yeah, and then you stopped on the sidewalk, and you said, and I came up to you, I introduced myself to you, and you said to me, how are you doing this? How does this happen? This was your question that you asked me. How is this? And I said, I didn't understand the question at first. And I said, what do you mean? How does what happen? And you said, this place where all these people are behaving this way, where all of these activities are going on independent of each other. There's nobody in charge of any of the activities. The kids are in charge of themselves. And your question was, how did this happen? I really want to know how this happened. And that, of course, led me to talking to you about the clipboard and the list and all of the things that we did. And you listened and gave great feedback. And it was awesome.
Well, it was awesome for me, too, because then you pointed out that the kids got to PE independently. Their teachers didn't bring them there.
Yes.
That they took responsibility for their own behavior and got there. And that just blew my mind, because you're teaching PE, but you're teaching much deeper self-responsibility and that. And it was very, very impressive. So they took responsibility within PE. They also took responsibility for getting to PE without having to have a teacher go and tell them how they should behave walking on the sidewalks and that. It was all really very, very impressive.
Well,
and then you just took the bull by the horns, and like a sponge, all of the arts-based activities that I suggested, you adapted to PE. And I think that if you're a student at Cypress Woods, in fact, I talked with a couple of your students who had gone to other schools. Those kids knew the difference. Mm-hmm. But the kids that had only gone to Cypress Woods, they didn't know. They kind of didn't know what they had. Mm-hmm. In the sense of a really far better opportunity to learn and to be respected, really. But the new kids, the ones that had gone to first or second grade someplace else, say, "Oh no, it's very different here." You bet it is. So I think your earlier point about an interview that you would share with the kids so that they could understand where they are and benefit from it more than they might without being aware. And I think that that's so true in your case, in your PE classes, but also at Cypress Woods in general, that the more kids are aware of how the learning environment there is different and respectful of kids, the better and better the kids can do at learning and at taking responsibility for their own learning. Because we don't want schools where everybody has to be taught all the time. We want schools where kids kind of lean in and lead their own learning and take responsibility for it, and lean in and take responsibility for the learning of the other kids. When you talk about mortar, that's real mortar, when all the kids take responsibility for all the learning. Then you have an environment where everybody can live a better life, that's for sure.
Wow, that's great. We have an amazing faculty at Cypress
Yes.
Woods, and it's very strong, smart teachers who understand the wisdom that you just talked about.
Yeah, I know that now. It's just really great. And then your themes, new kid and the mortar, those are huge character themes. Because one of the aspects of our work together in the past was not only how do you teach language arts and math and science, social studies, PE, but how do you teach character so that the kids have a better chance going forward? How do they acquire respect and responsibility and courage? Cypress Woods really took that seriously, not just the teaching of subject matter areas, but the development of good character.
Thank you for those good words. You know what I think our kids would be really interested in is some of your work in China. What did you learn from your time? That 2-3 good things that the kids could grasp onto.
Yeah.
Looks like we've gotten you frozen again.
Well, 2005.
Okay, Dr. Benjamin, hold on one second.
Yeah.
You froze up for a couple seconds, but you're back now. So,
Okay. Well, we're talking about China, and that I got invited to give a talk in Hong Kong. Some Hong Kong teachers had come to the United States and heard me and then invited me there to give a talk. And it really was exciting, and it went well. And so then they invited me back to really work with schools, which is what I like much, much better than giving talks. And when you give an opportunity like that to go back to the same place, twice a year for maybe 5 years, I did that in Hong Kong for about 10 years. When you have a chance to go back, you have a chance to really learn and teach and move ahead together. And that's what I like the best. And the things that I learned in China were powerful to me in the sense that the kids were so focused on learning, very, very willing to put in time. I thought that, and then we started taking about 35 to 40 kids deep into mainland China to very, very high poverty villages. And this is a level of poverty unimaginable in this country, these villages. And I would teach the teachers in Hong Kong how to do arts integration. And then they would use those lessons with their kids And then their kids would go with us into mainland China, and they would be the teachers. We called them the little teachers, and so they would use the arts integration activities with these kids in Lianan, China, in Guangdong province, high up in the mountains, very remote, poor villages. And, it's about a 5-hour bus ride. So coming back, all of the kids had the chance to go to the front of the bus and take the microphone and reflect on what they taught and what they learned about the trip and the kids. And these what I thought were fairly highly motivated high school students would always reflect on how much more dedicated the students in Lianan were to learning. That our kids that I thought were already highly motivated were even more motivated by the people in mainland China, where the kids approached school with real seriousness and perseverance in everything. I remember going up on the roof of an elementary school once with, it's 4 stories high, and the kids on the roof were doing embroidery. And they were doing it up there because it was brighter sun. They have terrible lights in the school. So they're up in the sunshine on the roof. Quite dangerous, I thought. And there they are doing their embroidery for hours. And they did beautiful, beautiful work. So I have many embroidered bags. There might be... No, I can't get it out. But the idea is that it was a hallmark of that culture. They make these little pouches with drawstring bags, but beautiful embroidery on them, boys and girls doing that really fine work. And so one of the lessons from China was you just can always find a new level of kids being dedicated to learning. Now, much of it in China is because they want to learn a lot, so they get out of the situation they're in. There's a lot of bad situations, a lot of poverty, and learning is the way out. And that, so from early ages, they're very, very dedicated.
So interesting. Now, you've been around the country. What are some of the places? I know you were in Ann Arbor, Michigan. What are some of the other places where you've been superintendent of schools or in administrative positions?
I was superintendent of schools in Ann Arbor for 8 years, and that was a very special in one particular way. It's the home of University of Michigan, so it's really a university town, and kids in Ann Arbor wanted to go to the very, very best universities in the country, and they were all focused that way. It's a university town. My next superintendent's was in Nashville, which was a lot of fun because the support and the involvement of the country music, the staff there, and top country singers in that. So there's a lot of motivation to really think deeply about the poetry they were writing, and then how to convert it into a song, and then what it sounded like, and that. And then when I left there, I was superintendent in Cobb County, Georgia, actually a slightly larger school district even than Nashville, just outside of Atlanta, but large geographically and large in terms of student population. And Cobb County was really 3 different kinds of school systems all in one. One was very, very rich and high-powered and high expectations. One was just outside across the border from Atlanta, and a lot of poverty there. And then the far western side was not minority, but still some poverty, a lot of poverty and that. So very different school populations. Then I retired from there and just stayed there. We have our house there and have lived there for over 20 years now and that. So I've had some different experiences in the country, but after I retired, I did a lot more consulting, and that's when I worked near Chicago and in Louisiana and Duluth, Minnesota, and Portland, Oregon, and really got to see some of the stuff that you are interested in is how do people do things in different parts of the country. And what I found is that there's more differences, for example, like in Pinellas County, than there is between Pinellas County and Portland, Oregon. That the differences are individual teacher differences, and you find them everywhere. And so I got a chance to work with just some of the best teachers in the country because I would just gravitate toward those. It's much easier and much more fun to work with people who want to go somewhere. They want to do something, and they're already good at many aspects of teaching. But what they found is that what's exciting for them is it's the getting better part that they want to focus on. And I think you're a great example of that. Is that not true?
Well, thank you.
You're really good.
Well,
but you're always ready for one more step somewhere.
That's how I look at it. I always think of myself as an up and comer, as somebody who's got a lot to learn from all these smart people around me, and I've never not thought that way. And here I find myself here at the age of 64, but I don't feel like that at all. No. I feel like I'm just about to learn something new, and I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by a lot of just brilliant teachers at where I work. My coworker Ryan Anderson, he is a genius, and he's turned himself. Funny enough, he did not like teaching PE to pre-K kids, but Ryan wanted to be good at whatever it was he did, and so he went to a convention out in San Diego, Spark PE curriculum for pre-K kids, and he spent 2 days there, came back, and now he's sort of the pre-K guru of Pinellas County PE.
Sure.
He teaches everybody else. So these are the kind of people I work with.
Well, you've really put your finger on it for me, and I think for a lot of students. As a student, you might not actually think this way, but you know that this teacher is a learner, and this hours are kind of boring. But how to do this better and how to somewhere. I think that the people that think all knowed up are in view. Their job seems to be just to transmit what they already know to their students, and that gets old very fast. But if you're with a teacher that's learning all the time, trying new things, I just love it when the teacher stops the class and said, "This isn't working very well, is it?" And the kids go, "No, it's not working very well. What are we going to do differently? How are we going to figure this out?" Boy, you just see the kids lean in and make it better. Yes. And that's the relationship that you want between kids and teachers. You know, they're on the same team going somewhere, not me teacher, you student.
Yes.
Shape up kind of thing.
Yes, we've got a lot of those. So I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions, and one of them is, and I know you've already said it, so I guess I'll just summarize. What is your impression of the way that our kids have taken to this music at PE, and do you see this? Do you see this around in a lot of places?
It's a good question. The answer to the second part is no. That there's isolated places where people are integrating music and art, um, um, and just blending it almost seamlessly. When I saw the video that you sent, that was just so clear, that the engagement of the music.
Dr. Benjamin, you've frozen up again, unfortunately. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but we're going to wait till you unfreeze because I think it's going to happen. In the meantime, I'm going to fill. Oh, there you are.
Okay.
There you go.
So I was just asking, you have that spirit of learning with the kids and integrating music. How long have you taught PE?
30. This is going to be my 39th year this year coming up.
And see, for you, I'm absolutely certain of this. It's been 39 different years.
Yes.
For too many teachers, they have 1 year 39 times.
Yes.
And that doesn't set very well with kids that want to go somewhere.
Yes.
And they want to be around people that are learners and leaders, and that. And so it's made a difference. It must have been about the 38th year, 37th year, you just got with arts integration and took it to a new level.
Yes. Well, actually, it's been 10 years I've been doing that. So, but I take your point.
Wait a minute. When was I there first?
You were there. The first time you were there was
that long ago, isn't it?
2007 was the first time you walked up.
Oh, come on.
Isn't that crazy?
We've both gotten old then.
Yes, we have.
You weren't me.
So, two more questions. What should I think you've kind of answered it already, but what should PE be about in the year 2020, especially for elementary aged kids? What should it be?
I think that the learning of lifelong habits that are healthy, physically healthy. You're in a more important role right now than you were 30 years ago, because our health has deteriorated so much. One of the activities on the video that I saw, you had kids, some of them were on their back doing bicycles.
Yes.
And that.
Oh, now we've lost you again, unfortunately. And I'm confident we're going to get you back here in just a minute. So kids, be patient, and thank you for your patience, kids, because here he is. He's coming back, not yet, almost back. Almost. Now we see you moving, but don't hear you.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Probably hear me
now you're back. So you were saying bicycles?
I asked you about the kids that were doing bicycles on their back.
Yes.
And that's something I've just had to add to my routine now. So you're acquainting kids with the use of music and the right kind of physical movements and making time for physical movements. I think that's the enduring part for the PE should be focused on right now. And the other thing is you're really doing wonderfully, and that is the character development. When you talk about the new kid at school and you really look at it over the whole year's time, and you look at what's the mortar between the bricks, what holds a school together and the relationships, PE can play a tremendous role in that character building, and you do that.
Yeah, thank you. So the last question I have, you're speaking to some future teachers, some future leaders, some future coaches. Yeah. What would you say to them?
Well, something they probably, if they've been in your class and in the schools in Cypress Woods, in the classrooms there, they're already learning how important it is to become a good learner, become a learner that thinks about learning and improves at it and takes responsibility for their own learning and the responsibility for other kids' learning. Those are skills that will only get more important as they get older, and will provide them with an awful lot of opportunities that otherwise they would miss out on in whatever sphere of their lives. So that those things, I think, is important for PE, and some of them, PE is uniquely in a spot to strengthen them.
Yes, we do have a unique spot, no question. And one of the things I love about being a PE teacher is we don't see the kids 1 year at a time. We see them over a 6-7 year span, and that's a great. The other teachers, they really haven't. They don't have that. Some of them have them for 2 years, but to be able to see it over that entire span is a huge hidden benefit that PE teachers have, and art and music as well. It's harder for art and music because they don't see the kids as often, but they do, maybe once a week as opposed to 3 or 4 times a week. But still, they do get to see a child over a period of years.
Over time. Yeah. And it's got to make you more hopeful about the future of the world when you see kids becoming who they're going to be, rather than just a snapshot.
No question about it. And I'm incredibly hopeful, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
It's a pleasure. I really admire all that you're doing, and I look forward to our next time together when I come visit.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Benjamin.
Take care. Have a good day.
You too.